Recording video, recording audio. Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey and Real Estate. I'm co-host Tone, and you already know who the man is.
Lucas Burrington, Burrington Real Estate, AMMT Property Management.
All right. We got a special guest this week. I'm super excited to have him on. I've seen him start a lot of projects, and then seeing the finish is always just amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself and what he does.
Modteetz Williams, Modteetz Enterprises, and a bunch of other businesses.
Yeah, I feel you.
We can get into that, but real estate is the main thing right now.
Is it the main?
It is. It's I would say, probably the most lucrative over long term. Not initially. Not at all.
Oh, hell no.
I think that's the main reason I want you on, is like making this become the staple, like your main source of income. How you got into it and why it's worth it, or maybe it's not for everybody.
Well, and I'll feed into that too, so you can kind of help, because we're on like season 4 now, right? And we've talked about it all the way back in season 1 when we were kind of educating people on how to become an investor and so on and so forth. And the biggest faux pas / whatever the false narrative that's out there is it's a get rich quick plan.
No,
and I'll let you feed into that. So I'm putting the ball on the tee for you here.
Before we get into that, what are we sipping today? We got a little bit of.
We got the Woodford Reserve out today. It's been a hell of a long week, and if you all know me, Cedar Ridge and Woodford are by far my favorites.
Okay.
Woodford was Playboy Whiskey of the Year for like 8 straight years. This is what Charlie Sheen was drinking, and all he does is win. So,
and T's, you not a drinker, right? Not like that. Tequila? Okay.
Yeah, he's ready for a different episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to get him some Casa More. Shout out Tequila Bob. What I got in my glass?
You got that Woodford.
Woodford? Oh, she bogus. Look, I said, I'm already not drinking this month. Supposed to do Sober October. I saw her bring out the Crown Apple. I was like, oh, you got me. And then she pours Woodford.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sharing today. I'm sharing. You know, the Woodford's where it's at.
All right. Well, before we get into all the good stuff, we like to start with today's market. Modteetz, do you shop for houses at all? Like, are you a part of today's market, or just kind of
as a consumer or
buyer, investor?
No, I have a house. I have a few houses.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not looking for a house. Interest rates are way too high for me to look for a house to live in.
That's exactly what we talk about.
I think when I bought my house, when I bought my second house, I was at 4.5%.
Oh yeah,
something like that. So I would never buy a house right now. but then again, though, I say that, but also I think it depends on opportunity. I think it depends on the right situation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and that's the kicker to it is, you know, knowing the market and you understanding the market with, you know, what you're buying right now it's a refi no matter what.
100%.
Yeah,
you got to refi at some point in time. So if you bought it because of the opportunity, knowing you're gonna get a chance to refi.
Yeah, you're and as an investor, so we'll get. I'll touch base on that market question that we normally deliver out here. So market right now, it's still very similar to last week. You're still sitting at 6 3/4 to rates, and residential. So residential. Yep, commercial. I did have 2 closings that I saw that the commercial rate was down to 7.1.
Okay.
So that ain't bad compared to what the 8 we say it ain't that bad when it was 4%, you know.
Right.
Commercial rates were 4%.
Or even this.
Yep.
I think the lowest commercial I had was 5 1/4.
Yeah. I mean, and 5 was your going. I mean, if that was the going rate for years was 5 1/4. You'd get the ones where you got heavy down payments. You'll get down to the 4 1/4s, and a lot depends on how you're taking them too. Because if you're taking them personally and still have multiple, you'll get a better rate instead of throwing them onto your commercial portfolio. So. Crazy Tone. It is like the complete opposite in the market than what we're normally. I have, and it ain't even close. I probably 2 to 1 right now. I have more sellers than I have buyers, which
it was different.
It's always been the opposite. Short inventory, didn't have anything for my buyers to look at over the last couple of years. Right now, the inventory still it is still low. Inventory is still low compared to what it was in like 2000 to 2022. Or 2020 to 2022. But with that being said, we had a 0.5 rate reduction with the Fed rate last week, and so sellers are now thinking that they're getting ahead of this market. They're like, hey, let's go. Because and I got A+ listings coming out this like, I'm like, man, I'm listing a $320,000 house. I'm listing a $180,000 house. I got a $150,000 house. I got a bunch of 210s that are coming out. So like I'm hitting every avenue of the market, and we're still not getting the foot traffic. So the foot traffic's not out there right now. Realtors need to be grinding. So grind and what it'd be. The investors are starting. They're poking their heads because they're seeing that rate's coming down, and they're just like, okay, I want to ready on the opportunity, but I'm going to feed this in to Mod over here about the whole rate right now on an investor. If you're an investor, I am telling you right now, buy. And the reason I'm saying buy right now is because prices are going down on these houses because you're hitting the winter months. You February, March, April, you're paying primos on houses, and it's because people have money. But also, no matter what happens with this election, no matter what happens, it's going to rates are going to fall.
Right.
They're going to fall for a short period of time just because there's a shock either which way. There'll be a shock, oh my God, or hey, we're going to kick ass for the next 3 years, something like that. So rates are going to drop, then prices are going to go up. So investors buy when the prices are lower.
Refi.
Yeah, and then just understand your margins are going to be a lot thinner for the next 4 to 6 months. Your margins are going to be thin. We said the exact same thing 2 years ago, that these rates are going to drop, so your margins are going to be thin for about the next year, and here we are 2 years later. But I do see it in the forecast that the next 6 months it's going to be a refi heaven, and I'm telling you, getting into your banks are going to be a pain in the ass because everybody's going to be refining that's bought a house the last 2 years.
So there's a lot of balloons coming due too.
Tons of balloons, and that's
an opportunity.
It is. There's some opportunities with that, but that's also the negative side of that is, and I don't know, you use any bank financing when you're going out?
Yeah.
Banks are starting to pucker up real hard too.
It's getting tight.
Yeah, and banks are almost finding reasons not to do loans right now because of all the balloons that are coming in.
I think it's a lot tougher on the rentals when they loan for us to hold. I think that's the thing that's changing the most that I see. That it's getting tighter. Like you almost have to have astronomical margins for them to feel comfortable. Right. And they got to be able to prove it, right? Like I can't go into the bank and say, "Oh, I'm actually, going to rent this for $2,000 a month," when maybe the neighborhood or market is only demanding $1,500. Right. Yeah. They're going to take a second look at that. They probably want to see a lease or something. Yeah. But and obviously you won't even get that far to even show a lease, right? Like, if they don't believe that it's possible, they're probably not loaning on that.
Right.
Yeah, one of my A+ customers, I was speaking to his banker for him, and he's like, man, tell her this, ask her this, what do you need? She'll give me anything I need when I get in there. So I went in and talked to her, and she's like, loan committee right now is finding a reason not to lend money. and I called him. I'm like, man, you're gonna have a tough time buying the 5 houses right now. They want to see some shit seasoned. They want to see it on the books. But I'm one of their best. Okay, so you were. I go, but she's not controlling loan committee, and right now loan committee's saying it better be it.
And they're protecting. Everybody that's a part of it. Yeah. And sustain it for the future. Like I got a different perspective though on how my model is changing. At first I was one of those people, like we talked about the glamour, right? Yep. Get rich quick, stuff like that. Yeah. But then you realize if you actually do the math, you think about it. If you got somebody who has 10 houses, probably got thin margins, right? Mm-hmm. Not that great, especially nowadays. You compare that to somebody who might own 1 or 2 houses, and they might get real close. Like if you owned it outright, only property taxes and your insurance. That's the only thing that you're basically covering. The rental should cover everything else. But if you take that comparison, that person that owns 1 or 2 rentals with good margins because it's all cash flow might make the same amount of money as somebody got 10 houses with 10 mortgages. And you got 8 less problems.
Yeah. Because let's call a property what it is.
Like, I've got issues that I've had with rentals where it's like, you got to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the tenant. And sometimes tenant may ruin something, but they don't necessarily have the money to fix it.
Right. Yeah, it's coming back to you one way.
Exactly. So my model now is like, I got active 4 rentals right now, right? So my model is, okay, well, what if I sold 2 to pay off 1? Mm-hmm. And I make the same amount of money.
Damn.
I think the opportunity in it is, like, the thing that I struggle with is, okay, which one has the most potential? Which one do we target to pay off?
Yeah.
Right? Which one is in the best neighborhood? What has the most potential over the next 15 years or so to grow, right, in equity? And then let's target that one, sell the other 2, pay that one off.
Yeah.
I think it's a complicated thing sometimes because it looks glamorous to have a bunch of
Yeah,
houses.
I've got a
It
large
sounds great
portfolio.
to say that.
Yeah, I just met with a couple guys that I'll have on here soon. Steven and Ashley Evans.
Oh yeah,
they were saying how many properties they have, and they're like, if we could just wipe the slate clean, and it's tenants. It's how much work goes into it. It's like they're almost always gonna ruin the place, like
because we're sold on that. And then if you have that 1 or 2 months where you got to go in, clean, flip it to get somebody else into it, put money into it, paint it.
Yep.
If you just had 1 and all of that is cash flow, imagine 3 homes and all of the rental leases expire at once.
Right.
And it takes 1 or 2 months to cover each mortgage.
Yep.
You got to be really good with money. You got to be really good with reserves.
Right.
Yep.
Sometimes people don't see that day is coming.
They don't. Yeah.
I mean, you could have a good 5-6 years. You think about the pandemic. Think about all the businesses that were doing well.
Yep.
And then you got 6 months.
Yep.
And you got people closing.
Yep.
My idea is that how could you be in business for 5, 6, 10, 15 years and one terrible thing happens and then it wipes you out of business?
Yeah.
So again, now my perspective is I don't need 10 houses. I need as many houses as possible paid off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of truth to what you're saying on that because everyone's having close to 100 investors we work with from 16 different states. We get to hear every different perspective that's out there because every market's so different.
Yep.
Like one of my close friends, he doesn't care too much about the margins right out of the gate. What he cares about is getting that quality property, and because his repairs are less.
Yep.
So he can guarantee, even though it's a thinner margin, he can guarantee that margin because the repairs aren't going to eat up that margin. You
got quality tenants, right?
Yep.
Probably great location.
Yep. Higher quality tenant, I mean, his margins on paper don't look as good as the one that's pulling in $700 a month profit on this single family house, where he might only be pulling $250 to $300 in, but it's every month.
Yeah.
Because if a guy's pulling $700 a month on a property that was a C+, C- property, it only takes 1 month of repairs to eat up that whole year's worth of profit.
Yep, you're right.
And so, what would you rather have? The one that you know what your margins are going to be?
Yep.
Or the one where you're like, oh shit, city inspection's coming up, and I know city inspection's going to give me 4 pages worth of stuff I'm going to have to fix.
Man.
That could be a couple grand. Okay, I just threw 4 months out the window of profit. So I mean, there's the give and the take with it, and then you get the guys that never see the property. So let's talk about a lot of the California investors in.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. They just buy it.
They're just buying. We just closed on 2 today. Connor was just coming in, and I'm just like, man, we've had these for a year listed, and these guys paid this for this. It's like, they don't know what they're getting into. They're in California. They don't care. They just want doors. All right, I want his money. I mean, that's what you don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, our whole management company was happy for them to sell because we didn't have to manage them anymore. We're like, oh man, no more kicking the homeless out of the basement. I mean, that Chuck's video that he had, that was these properties.
Have you dealt with that at all, Mod? Have you dealt with squatters, or do you have a certain really?
Only once. It was so weird. I bought a house. I don't want to bring up the address. That's not that important. I had one house that I bought from a guy, and I think like the family had owned this house for, I don't know, forever.
Yeah.
So I guess the grandmother died. It went to like the nephew or something like that.
Okay.
Or the grandson. So his uncle was super upset. So the day of the closing, we go over. We're like taking the doors off, boarding it up because we know we're about to like gut the whole house.
Yeah.
I actually bought this house to knock it down.
Okay.
I wanted to, like, it was sitting on a decent sized lot, so I wanted to take this single family, put 6 units on it. So that day we go over there, we like board it up, and we're like making the plans to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I don't know, like 2 months I hadn't been to that house to check on it, and I go over there, somebody living in it.
Oh man,
it's crazy. And it's this guy. It's the same guy that was there, just
with like any electricity or anything, or
I think it was. I think that I did have utilities on.
But that would have been in your name at that point, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Oh
man!
When I went over, and I was like, "Hey, you got to go."
Yeah.
And we're telling him, and he's like, "I got squatter rights." I was like, "Yeah, okay."
This is gonna be a process.
Nah, it wasn't a process.
Yeah, there's a way to deal with that.
So I'm like, okay. So we called the police. The police knows him.
Right.
They're like giving him so much grace, and
Of course.
and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, like, let's be real. Like, if this was,
Yeah, if I was on his property, so drug me out by my ankles. But
so I'm like, okay, so they really didn't do much to help me.
No.
So he wouldn't leave. I think like a week later, he's still there. I was like, okay, I know what to do. So I took the front door off completely. I was like, if you want to live here, whoever wants to come in, they'll be living with you too.
Yeah.
Raccoons, dogs, whatever, you name it. Everybody can come in.
Yeah.
So I think within a few days he was gone.
Oh yeah, nice.
That shit don't work no more.
They put a blanket up and be like, bet. Let's get a little hot up in here.
This is actually early this year.
Nice.
It was early this year. So I actually just sold that property 2 days ago.
Hey, congratulations on that.
I said, fuck that. I gotta do something else.
Yeah, there was one on N Street that we had. N Street, and then we had, what was it? Yeah, I think it was N Street. Well, anyways, over there, kind of like by L Avenue and everything, Southwest side. They knew the people that lived there. They moved out. The minute they moved out, they like little followed right in behind them. The squatters followed in right behind him.
As soon as they moved out.
Yeah. And so, man, we're like, you know what? Maybe it's just a friend that didn't move out when they moved out. And we're like, nah, I talked to the previous tenant. Tenant says they're gone. Okay, well, someone's still here. So me and the owner are standing outside with the police. The guy's inside, comes outside, and he goes, why y'all here? I got rights to be here right now.
Oh my God.
He goes, I ain't going nowhere. You're going to have to put me through this eviction process. And the cop looked at our investor and he said, better file the 3-day quit to cure on that thing because.
How many days did it actually take to get him out?
30. Yeah, but.
Again, we're talking about that, right? 30 days that you got to cover the mortgage.
Yeah.
Yep. The bills, like what?
Now, I work for K&B Property Management, not AMMT on this one.
So let's make that clear. Give a disclaimer.
Yeah. So pre-COVID. So let's go pre-COVID because it was a different world. Like in 2017, 2020 area, you can go in and take someone out by their heel and say, get the hell out of here. Or I kid you not, Todd and myself, I don't know how many times we gone on and moved a couch, and there was someone that was just sitting on that.
And it was like, we will lift
We're like,
this.
hey, we gave you a notice, 24-hour notice. We gave you tenant rights of 24-hour notice. We're going to be here.
Yep.
And Todd and I didn't care. We just picked up couches and started taking them outside. Hey, you can stay here in the front yard, but I'm boarding up these doors. You ain't coming in.
Yep.
And there was, obviously there's potential altercations and stuff like that when that happens, but it's a completely different thing. The COVID pandemic gave the entitlement rights to tenants. Just American in itself, where they felt entitled. Someone needs to give them it. It's mine. I'm taking it. Blah 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 blah. And it changed. It changed dramatically after.
What was the intention behind it? Like, how did it get to something that people could abuse? Like,
well, you got to think. You had people saying you didn't have to go to work. You could stay at home. We're going to pay you more to stay home than it is if you were, with unemployment was greater than what you were going to make at work.
Crazy.
And then you had on the opposite side, okay, now your landlords aren't allowed to enter your properties. That's your house. Mm-hmm. You have all rights to shut down that landlord right at the door because all you got to do is say, I got COVID, and you're not allowed to go in. Mm-hmm. And the city inspectors weren't allowed to go to properties with people in it, and especially if they're all the tenant had to say was, I got COVID. There was no eviction courts. So there was no eviction courts for a short period of time. Now, if you were in like Illinois or you're out on the coast where it was a real liberal area, you didn't have courts for a year. Here, they started courts back up after a couple months.
Right.
And then they got to the Zoom courts and they got into some of that stuff. So then you had to change. If they knew they had a lease, you couldn't get them out. because the moratorium stated you couldn't evict someone. Yeah. So every lease you had to do, you had to put it month to month, because then you're not evicting them. You're just saying, I'm not renewing your lease.
Right.
So, I mean, there was a whole different standards when everything that was going on was pro tenant, which, you know what, keep in mind, the only ones that really affect anything are the 2%. So investors that are listening to this, it ain't always all bad. It ain't all bad and gloom and gloom. It's the 2% we're talking about right now. Right. So the self-righteousness and the entitlement that came in with these people, like, hey, I control what's going on in this property. I don't care what you all got to say, because I'll turn you into the government. Because we as landlords, that fine was like $75,000 in potential jail time if you violated the COVID rules. So I mean, you're talking 75 G's plus potential jail time because I posted an eviction notice on your door and I didn't know the rules.
And you just didn't pay your rent.
Yeah, I
mean, you just didn't do what you were supposed to do. So but now,
go from an investor standpoint. Let's make this make sense. Cool. Okay, let's make this math. You're going to pay them more to stay home. Yeah. Their unemployment's higher than what they were getting paid by working. We're getting paid by working. You're going to give stimulus out to them. You know, that $25,000 or $20,000 that everyone was signing up to get. I mean, me too. Hey, I did it. Yeah. You know, they got more money than they've had in the last multiple years sitting in their place, and you're going to say, hey, guess what? You don't got to pay rent.
And you ain't got to pay rent.
And you don't got to pay rent. So
just think about that. That sounds crazy, right? To get more money than you ever had before.
Yeah.
And you don't want to pay rent.
Yeah. Make the math. Well, and the crazy thing is here's where the government put them up to fail. So what they did say is we could still charge that rent. And as soon as the moratorium lifts, all of it's due. Mm-hmm. So if you had 4 months of $1,500 rent, oh, hell, I'm living for free type situation. And landlords are licking their chops. As soon as this month 5 hits, you owe me 6Ks or you're gone. So the government didn't put them in a position to be successful where they needed to stress that to them. That, hey, you know what? That dollar amount's still accumulating, and they can call it due as soon as this lifts.
Right.
But a lot of landlords didn't know that either. Once again, we got into it where pre-COVID, property management was a convenience factor for a lot of investors. Mm-hmm. During COVID and after COVID, with all the new laws and the rules and everything that were going up, we saved being a property management and understanding the laws, being on the conference calls every week, you know, figuring out what you can and cannot do, knowing that you can have a rolling effect. A huge percentage of those landlords had no idea. Mm-hmm. The property management companies knew because we had to be up on our law and what was going on. So yeah, that's the plug to the property management side of it. That like, you know, there is a reason and there's a necessity for us today more than there was pre-COVID. So,
Mod, did you have to deal with that, or when did you start getting properties?
No, I was post-pandemic when I had rentals.
Now, Mod's Market, how long have you had that now?
Mod's Market is closed.
Okay, but when did
opened in August 2017, closed Christmas 2020.
Was that like your first
No, car wash was my first business in Chicago.
Yeah,
I still have. Full service hand car wash. That was the first business.
One of the most profitable businesses you can have out there.
It is. It's probably foolproof business.
Yep.
You know, it's going to survive
car wash,
any and everything. But it's different than like the car washes here. It's full service completely. So you drive into the garage, you get out the car, you go to the waiting room, everything is done.
Okay.
As opposed to like, you know, it's the sort of automatic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I call it like a belt. The car washes here,
which
actually is way more profitable than what we have.
Really?
Yeah, like
because you're
turning more.
Yeah, and you got more staff.
Yeah, you're turning more.
Anymore. You need less staff.
My bad. Yep, you need less staff and you're turning more.
Yeah. Now the overhead to get started in something like that is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, like you're talking about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 times what it costs us to start, but it's worth it though. I think so.
Would you start another one?
Car wash?
Yeah,
it would have to be the ones that are like here, like
the belt driven.
100%,
like the Mr. Car Washes.
Definitely, Johnny Boys, Mr. Car Wash. Yep. What's that new one? It's like Tommy's or something.
Yeah, like yeah. There's one down first by like Fairway and them. Yep.
Now, as far as quality, like I don't. The quality is different though. Like if you're going through those like belt style car washes, it's not really gonna like get your car to perfection. So people who want like their car is really
Spotless,
clean.
yeah.
They prefer more of, I guess people here would call it like a detail.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what people would actually prefer if you're like a car freak.
Yeah.
You care about, the console not being dusty, things like that.
Yeah, it's like going to Supercuts or going to the barbershop.
Exactly. Right. Supercuts are probably going to make more money. That's why you see more locations.
Yep.
The regular barbershop's going to be more personal.
They're gonna turn and burn you.
They're going to know everything about you.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
More personal.
But no, so the market was cool though. I really liked that business for what I learned, the people that I met, understanding numbers, profits, margins.
People.
How to grow.
We've had a few conversations and you dealt with people and you had some crazy stories. Like what's some of the goods, the bads, and things that you miss about Modteetz?
The people, probably.
Okay.
Getting to know the customers, knowing what they like, learning about them. I mean, I think Cedar Rapids is different though than bigger cities. Originally, obviously, I'm from Chicago, so it's more personal here. Like they care about you, they care about the neighbors, they care about what you do, your family. Like your name is, I guess your respect, so to speak. So yeah, you get to know them. They tell you about the kids, wife, husband, work. You learn so much about people.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about people who drink. And how they like shake really bad.
Yeah.
So at the market, we would have a ton of customers who would have a really bad drinking problem, and they would be 7 a.m. drinking shooters.
Whoo,
So
no
like,
bueno.
Just calm them down. Yeah, calm them down. Yep.
Yeah, I had one customer. It was an older guy. It was crazy. His hands would shake so bad he couldn't hand me the money out of his hand. I had to help him. Right, and it's kind of funny because I'm helping him with his problem.
Yeah,
we gonna
get you right.
Yeah, we gonna get you right.
It feels terrible, but I gotta sell this inventory. I need to sell this to pay rent. So it's crazy the things that you get to learn, but more or less the people though, and then the relationships. That's actually how I got to open Taboo, the club after that, because of somebody I met at the bar. Okay. And I'm one of those people. I know a lot is said about, when you don't tell people what you want to do, things like that. I guess I'm not one of those people.
You told me a bunch right at the beginning. I think that's something I definitely admire about you is you always show me like right at the beginning, this is the vision. And then when I see it, it's like, damn, like I try to imagine the most top tier stuff I can and you deliver every time. Like even a house you were telling me you were flipping and installing some stuff in. Like, I think I got to see, I think I saw you in process. I didn't see it finished, but I could see the vision. And that's something you definitely have is just vision, but you also execute. A lot of people have these grand visions, but they don't take the steps. So, was it more experience that got you into the property management and buying the houses, or was it education?
No, it was ignorance. It was seeing somebody else do it. And
I know exactly where he's going with this. We've talked about this before.
It's like you see somebody do it right, and then again, you brought it up, the get rich quick scheme. That's what people think it is. So you see somebody flip a house, and they tell you about all the great things about it, but people never actually tell you how terrible it is.
That's like what our podcast is.
Because,
dreams and nightmares.
You know this. Like you go get a house. Like, to me, one of the worst things to do is sell a house after the way I do houses. I gut all of my houses to the studs. So it's like a brand new house. I mean, we take everything out. Old plumbing, electrical, HVAC, windows, doors, flooring. Everything is new except the frame. Yeah. So for me, one of the worst things to do is sell it. But I mean, if you're buying up, if you're leveraging, then it's okay. Yeah. But the part of it is you put so much money into it.
Yeah, it's like a child, a project.
Worse. Worse. Whatever budget you go into it, I swear, it won't even be close. Like, at least not for me.
I'm only gonna spend, and you never only.
But you get better with it, each one you do. Yeah. But every time I'm 12,000 over, 7,000 over. And it's always the small things like caulk, baseboards, trim. More paint. Yeah.
It's the shit you don't think you're really spending money on until you get to the final bill and you're like, oh my God, I really went to the store.
Door stops.
Yeah.
Nobody, I don't know anybody who's like, in my experience, and again, you get better with everyone because then you start to realize I can't do that again. And then you start to realize whether or not you could actually do it. Yeah. But I would say ignorance though is probably the most successful tool anybody could have.
Damn.
Because if you think that you could do something, I feel like, those people who have all the information, they're like stuck in quicksand. They got too many fears.
You know too much.
But if you got ignorance, you're like, oh, I could do this. And then because you're doing it, you have to finish.
Yep.
Well, and you got to be understanding the ignorance is part of it, and the ignorance overcomes that fear, like what he's saying. But I'm one of those that knows enough to. I don't care. I know if I lose it, I'm gonna get it back one way or the other.
But you didn't start out that way.
Oh no! I was W-2 income for 10 years, the first 10 years of my daughter's lives, because I wanted to guarantee that income was there. Even though in high school and in college I worked commission stuff and I killed it. And I was running banks. So doing what you were saying is. So I had a decent gig running banks, but I can't even imagine how much money I lost because I stayed with that W-2 income for 10 years. Where, I literally, my first year of real estate, when the income was better on the real estate than it was being a CEO of a bank, I probably made that CEO of a bank salary, probably 5 years worth of salary in my first year and a half.
That's crazy.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And that's not exaggerating.
Was that selling management?
No, that wasn't the management side. That was just strict real estate, because when I got out of banking thinking I was going to have, I had 4 or 5 main investors. And they said, oh, hey, you know what? Your market's really good out there in Cedar Rapids. You got 3 colleges. You got two big hospitals. You're 25 minutes from one of the world's best hospitals.
General Mills.
Yeah, you're the factory. What is the factory capital of the world?
Yeah.
And so you got the blue collar, the white collar, and you got the incoming college kids that are just graduating. So you're hitting all aspects.
Some of those guys are staying here.
Yeah. So it makes sense to invest in your market, and it's not the prices that you're paying in Iowa City. So your margins are really good there right now. So if you manage our stuff, we'll keep buying from you.
Sure.
So hell, I thought I was going to have 5 investors, maybe 10, 15 properties I had to worry about managing. Now here we are 14 years later with 100 investors and 600 properties, and I don't want any of them.
See, I understood that part of it, like the infrastructure in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah. So a lot of people take that for granted, especially the homegrown kids and especially the realtors. Like, why would anyone want to invest here? I'm like, you really want me to bust it down? Let me give you my 30-second speech, and that's my 30-second speech. We got 3 colleges, three hospitals. We got, the manufacturing capital of the world.
They work here. They raise their families here. They buy homes.
Yep.
That's important.
Yep.
Where in bigger cities, they leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's true. And we're almost recession proof because of the white collar struggle, and the blue collars they're good.
You could get a job though.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
No matter what the economy is in.
Exactly.
I've always said that Cedar Rapids is like in a bubble when it comes to recession. Like, people talk about that, but Cedar Rapids really is, because, in my understanding, is because you can get a job at any point in time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do
you
agree.
can get a decent paying job where you can pay your bills.
Yep.
So at least I understood that, and that was, sort of part of the, I would say, equation to my ignorance. It was like, oh, okay, well, this is a good market.
Yeah. Your brother and I had that conversation of what you were just talking about. He had his path where he's like, I got to go get myself a job here if this market keeps tightening it up. And it didn't take him nothing to find exactly what he wanted to do.
Right, exactly.
He's like, it's a little tough on the body now, but he's still working with houses and still,
because we got a plan to build it into something that could be huge. Again, you're talking about 14 years later. But that's another thing I don't think people think enough about is the future.
Yep.
You go buy a house, you think you're going to make crazy money. All right. First of all, if you sell a house, probably a realtor involved. I hate to bash realtors, anybody, but to me, it's kind of hard to justify the percentage that a realtor gets. Like, I got an example, right? I sold 2 houses, same month, same price. One, we use a realtor, which I actually like my realtor a lot. One, we use a realtor. Cost me about a little bit over 13 or 14 grand. I got a closing statement, so I can get an accurate number. I should know that because I hate that number.
Right.
And then the other one that I sold, using my lawyer, I found the buyer, cost me less than $1,000 for same price of the house that we sold.
Well, and there was a market where that stuff was good, because that is, I mean, I hear that as from my standpoint all the time from my guys that are like, I'm really paying you that type of money to go out and sell my house for me.
And it wasn't FSBO.
No, well, and I get it. I mean, so I hear it all the time. It's like the biggest thing I have to overcome. So I was training 3 realtors the other day. And I was walking them through houses ago, and then we got back and we ran CMAs, Consumer Market Analysis reports on all these properties. And they're like, why would someone want to use us as a realtor?
Sure. It's a good question.
And so I laid it out to them. I said, so during the CMAs, when you pull them out, so this Consumer Market Analysis, you can also pull it out where it shows the FSBO's days on the market. So the people that sold by themselves.
Gotcha.
Like you're in a different market where it's beneficial for you to sell it on your own, right, because you're presenting a high quality product that fits all different incomes, because you're not selling it at the $250,000 to $300,000 marks. You're hitting that area where there's not many houses that are gutted, that are brand new fixtures, brand new HVACs, all that stuff in the price range that you guys sell at.
Right.
So there is an abundance. You're a rare example where I would say, okay, I can understand why you're not using a realtor, because there's 10 buyers out there tomorrow that want that price range with everything brand new. That's why we do so many flips a year, is because we can sell a $180,000 house where everything's brand new, right, or we can go find a $60,000 house, sell it for $130,000. Everything's brand new. Go compare that to everything on the open market at $130,000. Go tell me that you're not going to find new HVAC. You're not going to find new that.
Nope.
So you are in that market.
Popcorn ceiling.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, shit, yeah. Inspection report 72 pages long.
Won't be vinyl windows.
Nope, absolutely not.
You have some cool features in a house, because a lot of those houses do have character, but it doesn't have a lot of upkeep.
Yeah.
So that's where you guys hit your wheelhouse, where you're right. You probably don't need a realtor in that. And I'm one of the few realtors that'll be like, I've looked at my investors like, you don't need me on this.
Yeah. Well, how what's your like definition? Because you said it's not FSBO. You don't use a realtor.
So I think too, a lot of people, some people don't know that they don't need a realtor sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I think that it's that way because realtors do provide a lot, right? Like, if you, like what you're talking about, your situation, that's different. You got a bunch of people, you got investors from California, they can't do anything.
Right.
It makes no sense for them to be here.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to fly out to try and show a house, right?
Yeah.
And then they have to have the trust that if you put like a smart lock, that somebody's not going to damage the house or
squat.
Yeah. Right?
Yep, for sure.
Okay, you give me a lock box code, and now I'm here and I'm living.
Yep.
Now you got a different problem. So, you know, all those things matter, but in my situation, it's like, okay, this is a person I think that could afford a house, that could buy a house, that probably should, because they can gain some equity and they can grow and kind of start their sort of portfolio. So it's like having that conversation saying, well, okay, well, we can do this. We'll both save money because we'll just close at my lawyer's office. They'll take care of everything. Realtors, you do have a lot of great realtors. My sort of drawback is if I go and gut a house, put everything brand new in it, and then I basically say I did X, Y, and Z. This is custom tile. This is the kind of flooring we use. These are the windows we use. Well, I basically gave you the description, right?
Yeah.
Well, realtors have some work in that, but I could do that. Yeah. And I guess it was just hard for me to justify how one house being sold at this cost is the same as this cost, but it's $13,000 less.
Difference, right?
I want that $13,000.
Yeah, of course.
well, and you know, there's multiple incidents that we could lay out that where it's like the guys that don't know their house and don't know the market that have lost thinks that exact same thing. Like, okay, I'm going to save 13 G's for doing this, so I'm going to list this at 125, and I'm going to get this where. Well, why in the hell are you doing that? Your property's worth 170. So why are you listing it at 125? And okay, great, you saved 13,000. But if you would have used a realtor who knew the market,
could have got more.
You could have made 40.
See, that's a good example, right?
Whereas, and I run into that all the time.
Yeah, and then I have experiences where one of the houses that I just sold, I brought a realtor in. I said, hey, I want you to list this house at this, and they basically said to me, which I thought was the worst question: how much did you pay for it?
Yeah,
that doesn't matter.
It does not matter. No,
right? But I felt like I was dealing with somebody who wanted to sell fast so they can make some money. Right? When if again, if I hire you, to me, my idea is that you are working for me.
Yep.
So if I want the house listed at this, then you could choose to say, no, I don't think this is the partnership I want to be a part of, right? You could tell me I'm crazy, you could walk away. But I'm not of the mindset of you tell me what my house is worth, especially considering.
Did you set the number yourself, or did you assess it?
It's a combination of both.
Okay.
You go out, you look, I don't think anybody should come up with a number and be like, I can get this. I think you have to justify it.
Yep.
Right. Like one of the houses we sold, which was for $154, it was a 1-story with basement. Right? I think it was like 700 square feet. Well, it was about 1,200 square feet because it was finished basement.
Right.
Might be a little bit less. But anyway, what I wanted to list it at originally, just people in general was like, I don't know if you'll get that. It was just on 7th Ave, right? Nice house.
I know exactly what house you're talking about.
Tore the roof off, put skylights in it. Again, and before I bought the house and before I started investing into Wellington Heights, people have all kind of ideas about Wellington Heights. But Wellington Heights has the most equity in those houses.
Hands down. Not even close.
Most equity. It's a lot of work, I think, because it's so much inventory and it's house by house. But people don't understand how much, like, I would say their lives could change by buying that house, even personally. Like I bought 2 houses like side by side. I bought one in 2019, another one in 2021, and then 2022, and then last year. But each one of those houses that I bought had, when it was finished, at least $50,000 of equity into the house. We got 2. One right now that I still own has $90K of equity into it. Another one has at least $70K of equity into it. I refinanced one of them to buy a bigger house. So it was our personal house. We took $30,000 out of it. To buy a $400,000 house. And we still got $90K of equity into it.
Yeah,
So,
it's leveraging properties.
But
right
you
there.
got the stigma, right, of people who say, well, I don't want to live in Wellington Heights because it's the ghetto. Or it's this or it's that. It's like, what's 2 years of your life worth?
Well,
Well, I mean, in that, like, people have this stigma, but like, we lived there for 2 years. I mean, I've been to Mexico several times while I lived there. I come back home, packages are still on my porch.
Right.
But my perspective is different. Me living in Chicago a lot of my life. My perspective is different.
The hood here ain't nowhere near the hood.
But it's not. It's what people create and then people believe it. It's nothing like that.
No, man.
You have the few incidents where stuff does happen. But it's not like targeted to random people.
Yeah, you have to
At
be
least
involved.
in my experience, it has.
If you stay out the way, you won't be in the way.
But when I say what's 2 years of your life worth, it's like, are you willing to make that sacrifice to live in a home or a neighborhood that you deem not the best because of what everybody else says, when you can basically go and then buy the house that you want to buy?
It is so crazy you talk about that. Because I took 2 of our new agents out, and they're both Southeast side, growing up, and so I'm taking there, and if everywhere you drive, there was a sign of mine. They're like, "Man, you got everything in the Southeast side listed." I'm like, "Man, because I ain't afraid of it over here, my people over here, But we 20 grand's the address, and wait for it to come up because the thing's going to be gorgeous.
That's a good.
So,
location.
but it's a thing. If it is it's 20 grand, and I'm like, man, I wish I could list this thing without putting an SE right behind it. Because it's going to be about a $300,000 to $325,000 house. Everything brand new. It brought back the original character of, the 1925 houses. It is like castle-like. It's beautiful. The investor did a fantastic job on the remodel. It is clean as a whistle. And I'm like, man, I'm going to get qualified buyers that are going to pass up on this house just because it's got an SE behind it.
Southeast side.
You find that happens a lot on the other side of 19th?
A lot, especially now that the internet's alive. Because now they see Southeast and they're just skipping by it. They're not even opening the pictures and they're not doing that.
I see.
And that shit sucks. I mean, because the Southeast side has some of the most expensive houses in town. Some of the most beautiful houses in town.
They do.
And I mean, it is... I got one on Park right now. We just got rid of one on 7th, right down the road from you. We got rid of one on 5th. We got another one on 310 19th Street that just closed. Then we had 800 19th Street that I sold. Then we got 20 grand coming up. I mean, these are all
great one.
And then we got 1841 grand, 1837 grand, and 345 19th Street all on the market right now. So I'm talking within the last month, a ton of inventory just over here. So it's one of those that that is my goal this month, is how to eliminate the stigma of SE.
Yeah. How do you think you accomplish that?
Man, it's I'm gonna have to throw some block parties. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna go have to back it up how I grew up and stuff. Yeah. But I mean, I really don't know. I'm hoping I can break the stigma with that 2020. I got a great product. It's a gorgeous house. I mean, it is probably one of my favorite listings that I'm gonna have. Yeah. It's one of those where you walk through, you're like, shit, how can I not buy this?
Yeah. I'm a little sad I didn't get to buy. I tried to buy 2 different houses on 19th and Beaver.
Got you. Yep.
2 different ones. There's a big red one, and then right across the street is this like huge gray house. Yeah. I had great plans for both of those. Man. I got outbid it though.
Oh yeah.
They both went to auction. One of them was like $10K over what I could afford to pay for it. I think I offered, I don't know, like 78. It went for like 91.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, you could have paid 125 for this house and still made money.
Right.
Yep. You know, the other one, I think I offered like 67. Again, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, we couldn't really go over this with the budget we had.
Yeah, and a lot of those auctions are monopolized though now too. You got your buyer groups where they're taking turns buying. I mean, you go to a sheriff sale right now, you look like you got the plague when you walk in if you're not a normal person there. I mean, it is like this man, like they will
How
like,
do you know?
Right, man, I want to mingle amongst you all, and they're like, hell no. Yeah. My group's over here, you're over here. Here you are standing by yourself going like this, and you want to talk to them like, you're bidding against me. Yeah. And so like
that'd be fun to go start some shit.
Easily done there. Easily done there. Because my investor comes back pissed every time because he's in a group of about 5 guys and they take turns every Tuesday buying a house.
Yeah.
So when his turn's up, I always know when his turn's up because he's like, I need you to go walk this property, or I need you to figure out how we can get that back door propped open or something like that, so I can take a peek at it, because you're not supposed to look at these houses before this share sale. Yeah. There's always an open door, right. Or a window, and I mean it's so I always know, like tomorrow, that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow morning. I'm going to go walk a house that he shot out to me because it's coming up on the sales sheet for Tuesday. But
I've never been to a sheriff's sale.
Man, it is tough now because now there's like 3 groups and they all know whose turn it is to buy. And then you get you and I that walk into this thing and they're like, man,
you're messing up the
flow
ecosystem. Yeah.
Because I hear about
strategy.
And usually it's some stupid realtor representing some investor out of town said, hey, you can bid up to this. I'll make sure you got funds in the account to go buy it, because you need to bring damn near the whole purchase price when you're there at the auction.
You got to, what does it have to be checked on site?
Yeah, check on site. And so a lot of guys will have these open line of credits, or like yourself, where you got $90K worth of equity. They'll just write a check off their equity line, buy the house, and then finance it,
refinance it, put the equity back,
the equity back. And so he always comes back and says, "Man, you got to tell these damn realtors to stay out of these auctions because they just bid me up another $15K, and I paid another $18K just to get the damn thing." Mm. However, they're getting tight now because flipping houses is getting to be a tougher job to do, because the reason it is because when inflation hit, all the cost of goods went up. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see the cost of goods start to come back down. Your lumber and all that stuff. We're starting to see some of those prices come down, but we don't know if there's buyers at the end of it. Flip and holds have been pretty common. I think everything we're flipping right now will be a flip and hold. Mm-hmm. And flip and hold means you're going in and you're flipping it up and you're bringing it to brand new again. And then you're hanging on to it and you're renting it. Maybe you'll sell it when the market gets great again, or like you said, it's your baby. You want to keep it for a while. So.
Yeah. I mean, 2 of my properties that I have, our plan is that we hold those. We got 2 daughters. They turn 18 or 21, whatever age we feel like, okay, they're responsible enough, turn it over to them. Mm-hmm. You kind of go off with that. Obviously, at that point in time, we plan to have many, many, many more rentals, but those don't really factor into the equation of our monthly revenue.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But and it's kind of hard though, again, because I'm looking at it like, well, why do I need this many problems?
Right.
Well, you got the property tax until then, so like nobody's renting the properties from you right now.
No, they are. What I'm saying is like holding them.
Yeah, not gonna sell.
Right, not selling, but experiencing the issues of holding the property for that long, having the right tenants, not having to put the money you just made back into it.
Right.
But that's also why my motto is changing. Like, I want to build new to sell, but I also want to flip up. So I want to be able to get to a point where I got, one building with 18, 20.
Yep, that's what 30. A lot of guys are doing right now.
Yeah, like that's where I'm headed now.
They're going after the unicorns. They're tough to find.
Yeah, but I want to build it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's my dream too.
So that's actually what I'm doing now. So again, it's like that ignorance.
Yeah.
All right. I got into flipping that way. Now it's like, I could build.
Right.
Ignorance is just going to keep pushing you forward.
Yep.
And then you get to these points where you're super stressed, but then you figure it out. And then you come up with a bigger problem, so you can be even more stressed.
Yep.
Well, and so Tez and I were talking about that, and Tez and I have met multiple times in figuring out his business plans of what he wants to do with life and life in general. And him and I coach together. He's a fantastic basketball coach with our youth. He's been a diplomat forever.
Yeah.
Him and I have been talking on that aspect of it of trying to figure out what that niche is and how to do it. And when you get into new construction, because I've been representing new builders and new construction guys for 10 plus years. Mm-hmm. And then I was the financing on the other side prior to. So, right. I mean, 20 plus years I've been representing.
Yeah, so you've seen both sides of it.
Yeah, so it's one of those that building your team together is what it is. And that's what I was telling you. I got this guy that moves dirt. I got this guy that does HVACs at cost. I got this guy over here. So when you get there, you just got to let me know. We can bang.
We are there.
Yeah, we can start banging.
So I just closed on a lot 2 days ago.
Yep.
So I sold one property, turned around and bought the lot.
Yep.
We got framers in place. So and that also, I'll get back to that, but this is part of why I'm we got to go new construction.
Yep. The
people we've been having the fortune of working with, our drywall guys, super cheap.
Yep.
Super good quality though. When we do bids, we see what everybody else comes in at. Our drywall guys usually about half of what everybody else is.
Yep. I don't doubt that.
And fast, right? Our framers, I won't say half, but are probably about 40, 50, 60% less than what other people are giving us bids at, right?
Nice.
And they're fast, probably 7-8 guys framing a single family house.
Yep.
Whereas now it's okay, we're not building our relationships the right way. We need more work for them.
Yep.
Because I want to keep working with them.
Yeah. That's exactly right. That's how
we are at that point now. What we are now doing is finalizing who's going to do excavation and groundwork.
Yep.
So
and I hooked Tez up with a guy for that too.
Okay. I don't think we talked about that.
Yeah, so I'll when we get out of here, I'll hook you up because that's farm kid. His dad owned an excavating company for years.
He does the water and sewer taps also.
He does it all. Yeah.
Okay.
He's fantastic. He'll move the dirt where he needed and whatever not. He did my pond.
Okay.
And then we got 15 acres that we're going to be developing.
Okay.
And he's going to move all the dirt out there and get everything.
Single families.
Yep, all single family.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll just share some plans with you that I got for a bigger development. I got to find the right piece of land.
Yep. Well, just let me know because I come across them all the time.
Okay.
And once again, it's one of those things that building your team is huge. It's like what we do, Tone. We always talk about the network within the community that we do, and
collaboration is something we talk about every
episode.
Yep.
And there's no different. If you go pay $50,000 to these investor classes that they teach you, which are an absolute joke. Come to my office, I'll teach you. Yeah, they are. Scam all day.
Seriously.
Are you all self-educated?
Hell yeah.
Man,
the best education is picking up the phone and calling people that do what you do.
Exactly.
Okay. It is because I think that there's a lot of power in vulnerability, right?
Exactly.
Usually when I call somebody for excavation, right?
Yep.
I didn't know shit about excavation up to about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm picking up the phone and I'm like, hey, I have no idea what this is. This is my first new construction.
Yeah.
But you gotta admit that because they're gonna be saying things to you that you can't answer.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what else am I gonna do? Just
play?
Pretend
Yeah. No.
that I know
That
what
can
I'm
only
talking
get you
about?
so far.
I don't. But I've been like this forever. From starting the market,
Yeah.
first real estate, the club. Everything is okay, who do I call?
You've used the word ignorance, but to me, it's just fearlessness. You're just fearless with everything you go into, and I think it correlates because it is because of lack of education. Because when you educate yourself too much, that creates the fears. But when you go in there just blind, I'm not scared of shit because I don't even know what the issue's gonna be yet.
But you could get to that level of education where now it's confidence. It's not fear anymore. Now you don't even think about it. It's okay. It's like Floyd Mayweather, so to speak.
Yeah.
It looks like arrogance and conceited, but it's really repetition. It's consistency.
Yep.
I'm doing the same thing every day. I can see every punch coming.
Yeah.
I know what risk to take. I know what risk not to take because I respect this person or I respect this industry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Or my finances.
Yeah.
Right? So now you're just doing it's repetition. It's like waking up, it's like brushing your teeth, it's like driving a car. It can get to that point in some things.
Yeah.
And then it looks like arrogance or not ignorance anymore, but arrogance.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. fearlessness does get you far until you are educated enough to now take a bigger risk where now you're back ignorant.
Yeah. And even a couple words you just said, the repetition and consistency. Growing up, you was an athlete, right?
Yeah.
So like that's something else. That's kind of the whiskey part of this. Isn't necessarily the alcohol. We mix sports and music.
Sure.
How do you think sports may have prepared you for the business world, or do you not correlate the two?
No, I think you do. I think when I was playing basketball, anybody who plays any sports want to be in the biggest arena.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for me, since I can't be a pro basketball player, or I didn't make it to be a pro basketball player, but I always thought that I could, now I got to find a new arena to be that guy.
I love
right?
That.
Like, I look at it like...
Yep.
Have you said this before? That was dope.
Probably. I'm sure I said the same thing.
No, that was good. That was good.
I say it over and over. So, it's like that, right? Like, I remember the biggest game I probably played in, or let's say biggest school, right? We played against like Oklahoma State when I was in college. And you are like, I don't know, you guys probably have heard that term like man in the arena.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, right?
Yeah.
So it feels like that, right? Like they're not really here to see me, but they are.
Right.
Like I'm on the floor, they're watching.
It's a mindset.
Me. It is, right? So now I get to perform. And that's how I feel about real estate. So you get to see everybody that is like ahead of you. But you're not really measuring yourself up to them, but like you do see that it's like, you know, throwing that hook and then catching up to them. But it's like looking at what they do, mistakes they make, what they're doing well, if they're confident, and now you see, and you're like, okay, well, I could do this.
Right.
Because I think that's really just what it is.
Yeah.
We could say it's fearlessness, but we also could see that this has been done before. I'm not doing anything different than anybody
not reinventing the wheel.
Nothing I'm doing is special.
Yeah.
Well, let's put it from layman's term here too. So let's get into layman's term here. So athlete to athlete here, it's one of those that you always get told through your athletic days that you're cocky.
Yep.
Hell no, I ain't cocky. I'm confident in what I'm going to do here. I mean, it might come off as someone that's not an athlete that I'm cocky, or someone that has never been at one of the top tiers. In their sport that it's cocky. No, hell no, it's confidence. I know I'm coming up to whoop your ass type situation. It's not one of those that I'm saying this to be cocky. I'm saying it because this is what I believe.
Yeah.
And
but that's it though. You gotta believe.
Yep.
Like you know, there's so many people who say things, right?
Yep.
And it's just like conversation. We're just talking.
Yep.
Like I wanna buy a building. I wanna flip a house. But like when you say this, do you really believe it?
Right.
Because if you do really believe it, you will do it. Because
Yep.
you're going to be stupid enough, ignorant enough, crazy enough, confident enough,
Yep.
you know, educated enough to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, so, or someone told you something wrong.
People project their fears on you.
I got a stack of people who like, you know, people tell me like something that I don't agree with, or just kind of like the negative things. Oh, like that's enough fuel for me.
Yep, it is too. Yes.
I can't wait to prove you wrong. Challenge opinions real quick.
Yeah, I can't wait to prove you wrong.
Because it's like it's just conversation. It's really nothing concrete. Most times people, they're not giving you opinions or advice based on you, right? So like you do music. I could really give you an opinion and say, well, you should do X, Y, or Z. I would be telling you from my level of experience about music.
Right.
A great person that could give you advice would know you. They would know what you would do, what you wouldn't do, and then they could give you better advice based on that.
Yep.
So it's like those opinions that I'm challenging, it's like, you really don't know me.
Exactly.
Right.
You don't know that I've thought about this. I picked up that phone. Because me,
I had this conversation multiple times.
The funny thing about me is, right, I don't know anything about a subject. I'll pick up the phone. I'll call somebody about it. They'll educate me on it. I'll go to Google.
Yep.
I'll reaffirm what I know, what I just learned, and now I'm an expert.
That's how I love that.
Like I know what I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
So that's me. It's like that all the time with everything.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's like I get to sit and hear these guys come into my office where I knew they've been on Google and they've done their research. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when I met Monica. Monica came into my office and, you know, we met as, you know, helping her just find a real estate. And it was refreshing when she came in because she understood a lot of the lingo I was talking, because I could tell she did her research. And I mentioned that right in our very first meeting. I'm like, oh my God, it is so nice that you come in and have a little bit of knowledge when you're coming in. So I'm not teaching everything from scratch. And I love the teaching aspect of it. But when I'm teaching someone that is absolutely not understanding or hearing a damn thing I'm saying, because you got those two types of people that don't understand what you're saying. They're either going to get pissed at you and frustrated, Or they're going to sit back and like, okay, I got 3,000 more questions to ask, which there is no stupid questions when you're making the biggest purchase of your life. However, there is questions where you're going to fight me on. So you're going to fight me on this. You're going to think because you're defensive because I'm educating you too. So
yep. Because they don't want you to know that they don't know.
Exactly. Like it's so true. We deal with that type of people all the time.
Like people are very insecure about knowing that they look like a fool because they think that they look like a fool.
Right.
Yep. But and some, I don't take you for a person who can come off in that way where like you tone it down to make somebody feel better about like what they don't know. It's kind of like it seems like you just like, okay, well, this is how it is.
Yep.
But it seems like people are offended by looking insecure or looking foolish.
Yep. Well, in judging that temperature in the room's real tough today because getting them in the room's the toughest part. Because now everyone wants to be either let's do a Zoom call or let's text or let's do that. The handshake and sitting down and educating piece is gone in a lot of things we do. It's a non-negotiable for me when I'm training realtors. I don't even want to talk to your client unless he wants to come face-to-face because now I know they're real.
Yeah.
These people are serious. They're serious buyers that are actually coming to see you face-to-face.
And then if you talk to somebody over the phone, like that communication could go one of two ways.
Yep.
You can right away know who you're dealing with, or you could feel offended by something that they say.
Yep.
But if you're in front of somebody, you can kind of like peel the layers back. Like, okay.
Yep.
You're right. Like I know who I'm dealing with.
Yep. So I got a couple questions. Oh, mic's going out. So you do business with family. Have you ever, and you talked about eventually maybe giving properties to your daughters. Do you rent or have you ever had them as a client? Does that work? Or what's your opinion on?
Yeah, I think so. I think it just depends on who.
Okay.
I think so. I think anybody who deals with family knows, well, you maybe not right away, but you will know. I mean, it'll come a time, but yeah, it can work.
Okay, we get that a lot, and most of it's like don't rent the family. Don't.
I think in business, maybe that is best for everybody because anybody who's in business could attest to that. Like, what family thinks you have as opposed to what you really have is
two different things. Oh yeah,
right. Like you don't.
Yep.
And then like it's just that sometimes it's best not to mix it because when you're dealing with somebody else, right, you could evict somebody or you could fire somebody. With family, you got to actually care.
Yep.
I would rather not care. I would rather...
that is, like, for real.
I would rather disassociate my feelings.
No personal. This is business. This is...
Because you're not doing business just to stay here.
Yeah.
Anybody who gets into business wants to grow.
Yep.
And I don't necessarily know how far you can go or grow if you have to...
Well, and the quickest way to go upside down in your real estate world is to have a couple bad transactions because you got emotionally attached to the situation.
Right.
And we see it all the time, and we've talked about it on previous episodes multiple times, is some of the worst transactions I've ever gotten into is family, dealing with family, because the expectations now I'm working for free, that I don't need this money. I don't, who cares if I miss a rent, or who cares if I think you should discount your commission even further because hell no, this is you're still coming to my job, you know?
Yeah,
you still have to make money, and you want to do good things for family, right?
Yeah, all day.
Internally, you absolutely want to.
Yeah,
but I mean, what does that mean for you? Like, it can't be all for free.
No,
because now you got to think about it, right? You do one thing for free for one person. Well, now you got a line.
But what do you mean? You got multiple properties. You got another business. You don't need this.
And they might not necessarily say that, but they are thinking.
They are thinking. Hell yeah, I'm telling you.
Like,
you good, ain't you?
Hell no, we ain't good. No.
I've had conversations with friends about things like that, right? I had a friend tell me one time, like, yeah, you could do more for us.
It's your job.
I heard that today.
No way.
I heard that today.
Yeah. See, I think I hear, but it's like always subliminally, like you're not doing enough for the hood. I'm like, what the fuck?
No, this was direct, and I think that I think that's an interesting thing to say.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because of who I am.
Okay.
So like I have a lot of pride of like doing things for myself and providing for my family. So you say something like that, it's kind of like now we got to have this conversation of like, okay, well, what does that mean for when I want to do stuff for myself? Okay, so if I do more for you, that's less. Like if I give you something, like I got a college savings account for both of my daughters. I feel like if I can loan a friend money, I could just put more money in their college savings account, or we could go on a vacation.
Yep.
Like I like flying first class when I go on vacation with my family.
Nice.
So like you're taking away from that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's my responsibility to do more for you.
The entitlement is what confuses me. And I really deal with that so much in music. Because I do try to help as many people as I can. But
yeah, I feel
like
you.
The people that want my help but don't want to admit it, they come at me sideways because they feel entitled. Well, I've done this for this long. And I'm like, what does that do for me? How does like, when have you come through for me? And it's not about what you've done for me, but like, I can't understand the sense of entitlement. And I think
we don't have enough education. I think like first generation people who own businesses or entrepreneurs or just hardworking people, we don't have enough education on how to like set that precedent of this is what I will do, this is what I won't do.
Okay.
Right.
We're learning still.
Like
the non-negotiable. Yeah,
right?
the non-negotiable.
Like starting with that, like, and then I think I love Shark Tank. So I think it was Kevin O'Leary.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
He said that everybody in his family tells him, if you basically ask me for money, you get one opportunity. So I'll give you this money. You don't have to pay me back, but you can never ask me for money again. Right? Like, to me, that's amazing.
I love that. Yep. Yeah.
I love like the idea of like, okay, you're done.
Yep.
You're done.
Yep.
You're done.
That's the point in my life I'm at right now. Now, if you would have turned that chapter back like 6 months ago to a year ago to I mean, shoot, I was that guy that I was going to give everything I got and so on and so forth, even when I didn't have it. I'm still learning how not to do that.
Yeah, but that's hard because that's a habit, right?
It's such a habit, but it's a personality too. Because now my weak spot is the kids in the community. So like that's my non-negotiable.
Right.
I will give to the community. I will give to my kids, what I call them my kids, but they're we got 60 kids signed up for the diplomats or 80 kids or whatever. Those are my kids, Right. So I mean my daughters and our boys, it's. Like today, I ran home and I got it all from Monica today. He texted me and he's like, "Hey, I want some strawberries."
No, don't throw me in there.
So I'm like, "All right, I guess I got to find time to go bring him strawberries and make sure he's good because he babysitting our kid." And so she's like, "You're gonna do what?" He can open that fridge. He's got this. I'm like, shit, you're right, but man.
See, I might be like that too.
Setting boundaries,
Like, I don't even know if it's a limit.
I feel you.
Because like, I don't even know how some people get to that point. Like, I'm more of the abundant guy. Like everything my life to me is like Monopoly.
Yeah.
I want everything on the board.
Yep.
And I don't want to feel bad for having everything on the board.
Yeah.
So I feel like that with my daughters. It's like, okay, you want this? All right, cool. But not in a way of like, oh, you just get it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna have those talks. We'll build this.
Yep.
So they could have it for themselves.
Yep.
But I don't know. I just feel like, what's it for if I can't have it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. For sure. So we had a meeting. Would have been 2 nights ago, and it was very, very surreal with what's gone on in my world for this last year or whatever, not of losing loved ones type situation, grandparents, and the properties being left to the kids to figure out, and then watching them fight over what was left. So she's trying to prevent this because she lost her husband. I've known them for a while. They're up in the Center Point area and whatnot, and they have 72 acres of that. Just that is absolutely.
So there's nothing in place for like when somebody passed away.
She's trying to prevent it. She's trying to prevent the squabble. So she's got the estate set, so on and so forth. So I had to go up there, and this is where having the banking background came into play, and then also having the real estate background of being a realtor coming in and playing. Being able to walk her through all the situations. You got the right to survivorship. You got this. You got this. You got this. You got this. And at the end of the day, her biggest thing is she didn't want to leave it all to the kids because she's afraid of what the kids would do to each other. And
even an equal split? Even
on an equal split. And my family's the same way. As I don't know. I don't want any of it because I don't want to be involved in the fight over the timber and the acres and so on and so forth. Cash me out, get me out type situation, or let me cash you out and get you out type situation. Sure. Because not everyone's on that same belief. So when I made my will, it was very tough for me to leave everything to my 2 daughters or whatever. Not I'm gonna in my will I'm gonna put it where it all goes to the estate, and that estate has a monthly draw to both of you.
That's an emotional thing in a will, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that emotional thing estate in the will, and I mean, shoot. Man, get into your will. So if you haven't made a will, make a will. But
I think it's emotional though, because then you got to think about like my kids are young. So when I'm doing mine, it's like, okay, like the question is, which is such a crazy question to think about. If you and the mom passes away in like a car crash,
yep,
who takes care of your kids? Now you got to think about everybody in your life.
Man, I pissed off my best friend
qualified?
because I'm like, hey, guess what? You got the kids and the estate. So
who's gonna raise them the right way?
For me, my thing is the thing I had to ask myself, and what we had to talk about is who's gonna raise our kids the way we would. Who has the patience for them the way we would? Like, obviously the best.
It's not even the resources.
Nobody's going to duplicate you.
No.
No, not the resources. Like, if you take care of yourself and you try to set things up the right way, the resources could be there for them.
Yep.
But it's like, wow, you really got to think about that.
Yep.
Like, who's going to raise our kids that way, the way we would, who understands us, who's not, like, against how we raise our kids. Because, everybody in every household is different, right?
Yep.
Everybody has an opinion.
Yeah.
So my advice for people who has an opinion, I've seen your work.
True. Your signature's already there.
I've seen your work. We don't need that advice over here.
No.
Yeah. So we had this talk about 2 weeks ago on I don't know, heck, if we were just having a drink or what we were going to do. Who because part of the will, one of the questions is if you were on life support, who's pulling the plug?
Oh,
And who's signing this off? I mean, my youngest daughter, it's already set. Yeah. Camille's doing it because Camille is a realist.
She's the one that's detached.
She's dad's girl. Get me not. I mean, but she also is gonna look at my daughter. So my oldest is. I mean, she's also a spitting image of me as well. She's more
delusional.
Yeah, she's a little delusional. But you raise your kids to think you're Superman.
Right, they do.
And Camille understands that he's Superman. He's going to go through hell, and he's going to fight everything he can to stay. But he ain't going to be happy if I leave him like this. So she's going to make that logical. Where Kennedy's going to be like,
he might come.
He's coming back. He's coming back. He's going to be all right.
He will come back from being brain dead.
Yeah, I've seen Dad down. He's going to fight.
Drooling on myself, and you got to change me. Let it go.
Yeah, just let me go.
You got to love that, though.
Let me go.
You can't be mad at it.
I don't know. That kind of belief might bring you back.
Craziest shit have happened.
Yeah, that's what you think.
That's a hard decision to make.
Yeah, you got DeMar Hamlin. I mean, he wiped out and back, and here I am. Got a pick last week. It's one of those things.
Knock two out.
Yeah. What do you do, man? I mean, who's pulling your plug?
Man, yours are young, right?
Mine's are young.
Yeah,
mine's are young.
You ain't got to make that decision yet.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows how I feel. They know if I pass before them cremate me.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I feel you on that.
Funeral is a scam.
I don't want anybody making money off my death.
It's a scam. The casket, the plot. I'm sorry, like it's just
because I think I handle like the reality of death well. Mm-hmm. Like there's nothing anybody could do about it.
Yep.
But then again, I am sitting here saying that as a person who has experienced somebody really close to me.
Yeah.
So. I'm a little ignorant to that too.
Yeah, well, hey, ignorance is bliss sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that going through the wheel, answering those questions, it puts you into like an emotional place because now you're thinking about life. You're thinking about like you're not being here, your daughters, right, or your family.
Well, it got I mean, it's a real personal thing, but it got into like the roots of your relationship too, because
doesn't it?
Yeah, oh my goodness gracious!
You look at people in the form that you should look at them.
Yep, it's so true. The relationships of where your best friend is he true my best friend? Would I trust him with this type situation, or do I really trust my sister?
Your spouse, you got to think about.
It was a huge fight.
Do I want you to control all the money?
My ex-spouse, it was a huge fight because I wasn't leaving anything on that. Yeah. It wasn't anything. And I want my plot next to your plot. And hell no. Why am I going to die and want to spend the rest of my life next to you when I spent my living form next to you?
I don't want to plot.
Put me on the other side of the damn graveyard.
First of all, I think graveyards I think graveyards are creepy. So do not come to the graveyard crying next to my headstone.
Yeah, my bones.
I'm going to be honest.
I'm gone.
Yeah,
it's over.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. That probably might have been a breaking point in my relationship where I realized she wasn't the one.
That was it?
Yeah, I was like,
spend by eternity.
oh shit, you really want me to lay next to you for the rest of my life?
Yeah,
I don't want that.
I think the idea is crazy. Like, I don't know. I just think it's crazy going to like a cemetery and you're like sitting there talking to somebody like,
yeah,
nobody's there.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, you saw that what happened in Chicago. There was that one cemetery where they weren't even
there.
They weren't even there. Can you imagine? I've been going there crying, leaving flowers, having conversations. I felt them. I can feel them here. They actually, whatever you thought, still wasn't there.
Yeah. That's how I know it's crazy
horrible.
as hell.
Yeah, what a scam, bro.
It is, and let's be real. You know, we don't need to get into that. But if a motherfucker wants to be close to you when they're dead, they'll be in our house. They'll come find us.
Exactly.
They'll come find us. It'll say, "Help me on my wiener."
If you
or
believe in
something
anything
like that,
afterwards,
No, I think crazy things like that does happen though.
100%.
I think you feel it. I think you do, and it's there. It's present.
No, I know 100% it happens. There's too much shit that goes on in my life that says it ain't.
The first house that we stayed in, it was so funny. So a bunch of people in my family are super religious. Mm-hmm. Not so much. I'm not so much. Mm-hmm. But it was like a crazy windy day, and it was like a chair on our porch.
Yeah.
And it was like, so both chairs were kind of like side by side.
Uh-huh.
But then, and we got like the Ring camera.
Oh, shit, you saw it.
It was crazy. And the chair is like swinging around. They're both like in front of each other.
Oh, hell no. They was having a conversation. It was two of them.
And two having a conversation. Nani and Power on the stage. I know what's
happening.
Yeah.
And somebody's like, oh, man, you better get a Bible. You want this? I was like, look, I'm not disturbing them.
Yeah, let them go about their conversation. Whatever business.
Protect me.
Yeah.
I said, it's true. Maybe they're happy that I took care of their house.
Yep.
I said, it's good enough for me. Well, I'm not like afraid in that way of like spirits. It's like, if I'm here, I'm like, you know.
Yeah.
We've talked about that in other episodes where I walked into houses where
he got the holy water.
Yeah, seriously. Holy water. I've had a tenant flopping like a fish on the ground, going to ER, ambulance picking them up, saying nothing's wrong with them. And then I talked to the husband and they're like, yeah, you know, all the lights turn on at this time of night and they're not supposed to. Every whiskey bottle, he's got a whiskey bottle display. Every night they turn in their opposite direction.
No,
I mean, there's some
bro.
crazy shit. Now you got this girl flapping on the
She floating shit.
And so we had paranormal people come out and they said there was like 14 spirits in this house and so on and so forth. The priest
should have asked for permission.
The priest met me at the door with holy water and I was like, damn, I've been that bad or what's going on here? But anyway, that shit happens. I mean,
hold on, we need a little bit more for you, Lucas.
There was a property on Williams Boulevard, and they said her name was Rose. And every time our cleaners went there, their purses would end up in the other room, or their purses would go in the closet. I mean, there was some crazy stuff going on. And then the tenant came in when they were about to ready to move out, and they're like, hey, you sending those cleaners back, just tell them Rose is still there. I'm like, what the fuck? How do you know Rose is there? Like, I thought that was our little joke.
Yeah.
They're like, no, Rose is still there. I'm like, oh, okay.
You've been warned.
Yeah, so, I mean, the stuff is real, and I mean, there's been houses you walk in and walk right the fuck back out because you know
don't feel right.
It didn't feel right. There is what is that on the wall over there? But going into construction, they say that's what brings the spirit out. You're pissing off the people. In a lot of those older houses, they don't want their houses. Yeah, you watch Ghost Adventures, you watch any of that crazy stuff.
Definitely
the thing of it is that they don't notice anything until they start ripping a wall or they start reconfiguring the house or something like that, and that's usually what brings the spirit out. So.
That's interesting.
Man. Hey, I've been in real estate. I got my cross on me. This thing is blessed. It's been blessed. It's got holy water on it once a month. I get holy water on this thing. I mean, and
he's got a subscription to holy water.
You ain't kidding, man. I'm the Diddy of holy water.
You got 1,400 bottles of holy water.
I resurrect.
Oh Lord, that's a good one to end on.
I guess it's good to have some people praying for you.
Yeah,
something like that. Mod, man, it's so dope. It's a pleasure.
Yes, for sure.
I'm excited to continue working with you in some capacity, seeing your visions become a reality. What's next for you? Like what do you?
Real estate courses.
Yeah.
Scam. But I'm joking. It's not a scam though. But no, actually though, I am thinking about like basically taking people along with me with new construction. So like everything from the process of when you get the land, what happens next, and what happens next, all the way to the finish, product.
Doing what you do, it only makes sense for you to be licensed.
Yeah, I am.
Yep. So it only makes sense for you to be licensed and having your license hang through a brokerage and whatnot like that.
You mean like realtor?
Realtor license.
Oh,
because now you get a kickback on everything you sell. So yeah, that $13,000 you were talking about.
No.
Now, if you're a licensed realtor, you get that money back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're
especially when it's yours, right?
Yep. Yep. Almost. There's a handful of my investors that are either getting their license or already licensed just because of that reason.
Gotcha.
I'll
I'll think about that.
Yep.
I will.
Just holler when you're ready. I'll get you set up with all the courses and all that stuff and all the stuff you need to know. Yep.
Yeah, but maybe that might be somewhere in the near future too. Then thinking about that, but yeah, I definitely want to do the courses because, like what you talked about with the paying $50,000 and paying $10,000. I've been one of those people, but I actually got a refund. I found out it was a scam real fast, and I went and ran and. Is
that after they told you to get every credit card, max them all out?
No, I didn't do one of those. I did it. I did a different that credit stack and shit.
Oh yeah,
those people gonna be in debt.
Yeah,
it's gonna be crazy for them. I hate it for them. But sometimes when you're chasing money, you don't see what you should see.
Yeah. When you're believing the expert in the room,
they're not expert. They are not from telling you to go get that money and give them a cut.
It's true. I mean, 50 G's they pay to go do this one class. 50 G's. And the first thing they teach them is how to ring up credit, how to get your credit card, max them all out, and blah 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 blah.
It's called credit stacking, and you'll get this many months of no interest. But no, for me, I definitely have been one of those people who've paid for a real estate course because I wanted to learn about new construction, and I thought this is probably late last year. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm ready to take the next step. Yeah. I'm not really sure where to go next. I've picked up the phone. I really wasn't getting information I wanted to get, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. This course was $10,000. It took me 2 days to realize I was in a scam.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you know what? I'm not going to call it a scam. What I'm going to say is it wasn't for me. I'm not going to call it a scam because it probably did help some people.
Works for somebody.
Just not but what I was asking for specifically, they weren't able to provide. So I went and read the fine print. I sent that emails like, hey, I appreciate what you're doing for people. I'm pretty sure this is helping because I don't like to bash people publicly. But I was like, yeah, this is not for me. So they gave me a refund. Nice. And then I just thought from there, it was like, well, there's a lot of people like me who have questions. These people are charging $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And what I'm going to start doing is with this first new construction that I'm doing, everything that I do, you'll get real life examples of what it looks like for the plans, how to put a permit in, like literally taking you through every step.
Yeah, so you'll be leading the courses.
Yeah, it would be more like, I think there's a bunch of different platforms you can use. Like you could put like the chapters, so to speak. Yeah. Right. So we can put what it looks like to identify and locate land and how to identify what you could build on that land. Yep. And then what you do from there all the way to when it's complete and you're ready to sell. And it would probably be a couple $100. Honestly, it's more or less like pay me for the time.
Boot camp is the thing that I always want to do because I can't tell you how many investors I've had walk into my office and say, teach me how to get this thing done. And I've never charged. I just gave them information.
Same. And people have done it for free for me too. Yeah. But these things cost, like the online platform, you have to pay for that. Yep. Right? Like it's going to take some time away from you to do it. Yep. So like if I charge you $200, $300, $400, it's going to be super, super cheap. Where it's 100% worth it. And you'll spend that and throw that money away easily. But you will know what it looks like to build a house. Yep. And again, I'm getting my information from experience and from picking up the phone.
Nice.
So you do not have to spend $200 or $300. You could do the same thing I'm doing. Yep. But if you want to learn how to do this in 6 months, because you're doing it with somebody that's doing it, you'll see the mistakes. You'll see me not stick to the budget. Like you'll see everything. Yeah. And you'll know what to do. You'll know who to call. You have contacts, things like that. And we always talk about these things because I really am not the camera guy. I'm really the private guy. I like doing things and building relationships privately. Yeah. Yep. And having respect for people and vice versa. So but this is something I'm passionate about because, again, I've had so many questions. Yeah. I've paid $10,000 that wasn't worth it. Thank God I got my money back. Right. But I don't think anybody else needs to make that mistake.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That's kind of like my career course going forward is where I had a realtor in my office today ask what I want to do. I want to coach, educate, and do exactly what you're talking about. Create the boot camps, be able to raise and train these realtors out there. the proper way, because I know my frustration is dealing with people that don't know what the hell they're doing.
Sure.
Heard about that enough, but so yeah, I feel you on what you're trying to do over there. So
love it.
And it's a small house, single family house. It's gonna be about 1,463 square feet. You know, we can talk about finance and things like that, because I think that's probably a big caveat of people not being able to get into flipping. Like, you need some equity, you need some money, you know, or a bunch of sweat equity.
Well, do you do contracts, or do you typically go through the bank, or how does that usually look for you?
All of mine have been through the bank.
Okay.
I think, well, initially we bought the first 2 houses in cash. They were super cheap, but we didn't have the money to finance it. So yeah, the bank comes in, gives us the money to flip it and hold it.
construction loans.
Yeah, exactly. Construction loans.
Yep.
Which another thing, and I don't know if you've had to go through that with people, but and I didn't learn this until probably a couple years ago. Most people don't know what they're paying in interest on those construction loans.
Nope.
They have no idea. That is a big, big expense.
Huge expense. I'm dealing with it right now in Bowler. It is killing me.
But if people knew exactly what that dollar amount was for that money that they just financed, I think more people would kind of understand whether or not they could do it.
Yeah.
Plus holding costs.
And that's something we always talk about is 4% interest, 7% interest. But if you don't know the actual number, it's like, oh, well, that's a low percentage, but not every month or every year.
But that's not the toughest part about it. I think the most important part about it is, what are you paying on that percentage of interest? What are you paying when you draw a certain amount? So when you're at 50 or 60,000, right? Like I put together a formula that shows you, like, if you draw in month three and you're at 75,000, what's going to be your interest payment the following month? And I think that's what people need to know.
Right.
Because you need to know if you can afford to do this.
Yep.
Yep, that holding cost is a pain in the ass. My banker, I just got the nth degree for me on the exact same thing. She called me and she's like, you've been interest only for a year on this thing, on this construction note that you got rolling right now. I need $20K to get that interest for last year. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
So, and this was to sell then?
Well, this was just to renew. If I wanted to renew it before
I just had that happen to me.
Yep.
I literally had to put 20. I swear to God, I was pissed. I had to put exactly about a little bit over 21,000 down to keep a house because I refinanced it from my personal to my business.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got way too much equity to have to do this. Yeah. And like, there's nothing we can do.
I told her she better figure it out, or she can have the keys back.
I tried to find another banker. I tried to find another banker. I swear I did. I did everything I could before that loan came due. Yeah. That pissed me off.
Oh, I'm right with you on that. I'm right in that coaster. Today, I'm right in that coaster because this just happened 2 days ago.
We buy houses. We want to buy one. We need money.
Yep. I'm not giving you 20 G's today. Like, where's my warning? Where's my? Should I read the fine print? Well, hell, there was no fine print. This is you just kept renewing it every month.
Right.
Man,
I'm like, just ask me, tell me you need something right now, but don't hit me in the jaw. 20 grand.
Portion this out.
But maybe that's what DSCR loans are for, though.
They are.
I'm actually looking at. I'm looking at that right now. I got 3 properties. I got plenty of money in it.
Yeah.
I can use it.
Man,
But then I'm gonna piss off my bank when I do that.
Yeah. You will not. Not right now. They don't care.
Well, I think they will because I'm gonna need some more money from them.
But they'll be all right to lend you that if the risk is lower.
Sure. So I'm gonna have that conversation Monday. Like, hey, look.
Yep. The only thing they'll be mad about is losing your equity.
Yeah.
I mean, but the loan itself, they want it off the books if it ain't sitting at today's rate.
They definitely don't mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that.
Like, they want it off their books if it's sitting on 2 years ago rates.
Yeah. And for that reason, though, I've made relationships with other banks knowing that this day might come.
Yep.
Where I'm like, I'm out of a bunch of cash.
You already had it.
You got to. You cannot work with one bank.
Yeah.
You do not need to be in position to work with one bank when an opportunity arises.
Yeah.
And, maybe they might not do it.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm looking. I'm searching. She don't watch the podcast.
Oh, Lord. She gonna know now. All right, guys. That's a great episode. Glad you guys got to connect.
For sure.
And, share resources. Keep networking, collaborating. Damn, I might keep going out. Keep being fearless. And, ignorance is bliss. The less fears you let other people impose on you, the more risk you're willing to take. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from this. So thank you, Mod. Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
sir.
absolutely. Welcome back again.
Yeah, we out.